Even though the Egyptians made God's children slaves and worked them too hard, God's children kept growing. This made the Egyptians mad. The Pharaoh was so mad, he gave this order to all his people. Every Israelite boy that is born, you must throw into the river. That is very sad, isn't it? One day, a mommy gave birth to a little baby, a boy. When she saw him, she decided she would try to hide him from the people who would throw him in the river. She was not afraid of the Pharaoh, and she trusted God, so she hid the baby boy for 3 months. But as he got older, he started moving around more and would sometimes cry loudly. The mommy realized she wouldn't be able to keep her baby boy hidden much longer. Someone would hear him or see him. So she came up with a plan. She made a floating basket for him, like a little boat. She put the baby boy in the floating basket and hid the basket in the water on the edge of the river. She told the little baby's older sister, Miriam, "Hide in the bushes and watch over the basket to see what happens." Then an Egyptian lady came down to wash herself by the river. She was the daughter of Pharaoh. She noticed the basket in the water and sent one of her servants to get it. When she opened the basket, she saw a baby, a little boy, crying. She felt sorry for the crying baby and said, "Aw, this is one of the little Israelite boys that my father said we have to throw in the river. But I'm not going to throw this baby in the river. I'm going to keep him and take care of him." Then the baby's sister ran out from the bushes where she had been watching. She went right up to Pharaoh's daughter and said, "Do you want me to go get a mommy who can feed and take care of this baby for you? Then, when he is old enough, you can have him back." Pharaoh's daughter liked that idea. Yes. So the sister ran as fast as she could and got the baby boy's mommy. Pharaoh's daughter said to the mommy, "Take this baby and feed him for me, and I will pay you to take care of him." So the mommy took the baby home. When the baby boy grew older, the mommy had to take her boy back to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son instead. She named him Moses. Moses' real mommy was sad that she had to give him to Pharaoh's daughter, but she was glad that God had made a way for her baby boy to stay alive. This could seem like a pretty sad story, couldn't it? But God had a plan to save his children from the slavery and too hard work. He was going to take them back home to the land he had promised. No one knew then that God's plan for the future had just escaped in a floating basket. God is like that sometimes. Sometimes things seem hard or bad or sad, but God uses it as part of his bigger master plan to help lots of people. Moses was now the son of the Pharaoh's daughter, who was a princess of Egypt. So Moses grew up in her house and was treated very well. Moses was living in a nice, comfy house with plenty of good food to eat and no hard work. But the other children of Israel were slaves. Moses was educated in everything the Egyptians knew and was powerful in his words and in what he did. Even though Moses was treated like a wealthy Egyptian, he knew that he was really one of the children of Israel. When he was about 40 years old, Moses thought to himself, "I really want to go and visit my fellow Israelites. I want to see what their lives are like here in Egypt." Moses did just that. And do you know what he saw? He saw how mean and cruel the Egyptians were to God's people. This upset Moses. He didn't like living like an Egyptian while his people were being treated so terribly. He didn't want to be called the son of the princess anymore. He wanted to be one of God's children. He could see with heaven eyes that being a child of God was better than having a comfy house, yummy food, and an easy life. He'd rather be treated terribly with the Israelites than live a temporary pleasure life as an Egyptian. Just then Moses saw an Egyptian man hitting and hitting one of the Israelite men. And the man had done nothing wrong. That made Moses very angry. So when he saw no one else was around, he rushed over and killed the Egyptian. The next day Moses went out again, wondering if he could help. Maybe I could help God's children get out of this trouble. I have a good position in Pharaoh's house. I've learned a lot, and I'm a pretty powerful guy since I've been the son of the princess. Then he saw two of God's children fighting with each other. He rushed over to stop them. "Brothers, brothers, why are you treating each other this way? This is very bad." The brother who was wrong pushed Moses away and said, "Who do you think you are? Who made you a ruler and boss over us? Are you going to kill me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" By now, Moses knew he had a problem. It seemed like he'd rushed in thinking his job was to be a hero and fix things, when he should have been humbly listening and waiting on God. Moses was part of God's future plan to save the people from slavery, but Moses needed to learn to be humble first. Trying to rush in on his own and be a hero wasn't really what God had in mind. And now Moses had another problem, because when the Pharaoh found out about all this, he was so mad that he tried to kill Moses. So Moses ran away from Egypt. After Moses ran away from Egypt, he settled down in another land, got married, and had 2 sons. He lived far away from the mean Egyptians and from slavery, but that also meant he was far away from God's special children. During that time, the Pharaoh of Egypt, the one who tried to kill Moses, died. But the Israelites were still in slavery, and they groaned because of the hard slave work. Daddies always hear when their children cry out and are hurt and need help, right? And God, being the best daddy of all, heard his children, and it was time to help them. He remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He saw the children of Israel, and he understood. It was time for God to get Moses' attention. He needed Moses. God was going to send Moses back to Egypt. So one night, Moses was taking care of the sheep in the rocky desert mountains when he looked up and saw a strange sight. There was a big bush ahead of him that was ablaze with fire. Crackling, sparkling, hot flames of fire. But wait, it wasn't actually burning up the bush. That's amazing, Moses thought. Why does that bush not burn up? I've got to get a closer look. So he turned off the path and went toward the bush. Just then, God called to Moses from the bush. "Moses, Moses." "Here I am," answered Moses, with a little shaking in his knees. "Do not come any closer," God commanded, "and take off your shoes, because you are standing on holy ground." So Moses obeyed and took off his shoes. As Moses looked into the bright, crackling flames, God explained to Moses, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." Moses was terrified to be looking at God. He hid his face. "I have seen how my people are being hurt," God continued. "I have heard their cries, and I know why they are sad. So I have come down from heaven to bring them out of Egypt and into a land so wonderful that it flows with milk and honey." That sounds yummy, doesn't it? Finally, God gave Moses the big news. "Now go, Moses. I have chosen you. I am sending you to get my people out of Egypt." Moses swallowed hard. Go back to Egypt and lead God's children out? Me? How's that gonna work? He wondered. God had just given Moses a big job. Go back to Egypt and get God's children out of there. This sounds like happy news, doesn't it? Yay, God's children are going to be freed. But Moses wasn't exactly jumping up and down with happy feelings. God was basically saying he needed a delivery man, someone to deliver the people out of slavery. But Moses wasn't sure he wanted to be a delivery man. Moses had tried to help his Israelite brothers before, and that had almost gotten him killed. So Moses wasn't sure he wanted to help. He'd already blown it once. "God, who am I that I could ever be good enough to be allowed to talk to the king of Egypt for you or lead all your people? I am just little stuff." "I'll be with you," God answered. That should have been all Moses needed to hear. It didn't matter what had happened 40 years before. Moses just needed to humbly obey God today. But he still wasn't sure. If I go to the people and say, "The Lord, the God of your fathers, has sent me." "Then what if they ask me your name? What am I supposed to say?" Did you know that at this point, God had never told the people his name? But now he's going to tell them. "I am who I am," answered God. "Tell them Yahweh, I am, has sent me to you." God continued to tell Moses everything that he should say and do, and everything that would happen. But what if the people don't believe me?" Moses still worried. God said, "Throw that walking stick in your hand down to the ground." Moses threw the stick down, and it turned into a slithering snake. Ah! Moses ran from the snake. "Now, reach out and grab that snake by the tail," God told Moses. So Moses reached out and caught the slithering snake by the tail, and it turned back into a walking stick. God gave Moses 2 more signs like this. Moses could use these signs to prove to Pharaoh that he was sent by God and Pharaoh should listen to God. But it didn't make Moses feel better. He really just didn't feel like being the one to deliver all those people. "But God, I've never been good at talking. I'm slow when I talk and hard to understand my whole life. And I haven't got any better since you started talking to me." "Didn't I make your mouth?" God answered. "Who decides if someone can speak or hear or see? Don't I, the Lord, decide that? Now go, 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 and I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say." Moses was getting desperate now. He tried one last time to try to convince God that he was the wrong guy to send. "Lord, please find someone else, anyone else, but not me." God had had quite enough of this conversation and was getting a bit angry at Moses. Finally, God just said, "Okay, your brother Aaron can speak well, so he can speak for you. But you take that walking stick with you and go do the signs I showed you." So at last, Moses took his walking stick and went. Phew! No one, you, me, Moses, no one should make it so hard on God to get a job done when he asks us to do something. He should have just said, "Yes, sir." Moses went back to Egypt, and he and his brother Aaron told the children of Israel everything God had said at the burning bush. When the people heard that God hadn't forgotten about them and still loved them, they bowed down and worshipped him. The next day, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh. "God says to let his people go," they told the Pharaoh. "No," Pharaoh yelled, and he gave the people even harder slave work. That didn't seem to go so well. "Oh, Moses," the people cried, "you've only made things worse for us. God isn't saving us." But God told Moses, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I am saving my people from their slavery. I have heard them, and I am going to take them out of Egypt with my signs and wonders, so that everyone will see that I am God." So go back to Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron went and told Pharaoh again, "God says to let his people go." Then Aaron threw down his staff, and it turned into a slithering snake, just like God had shown Moses at the burning bush. But God had made Pharaoh's heart so hard that Pharaoh would not listen. The next day, Moses and Aaron told Pharaoh again, "God says to let his people go." "Never," Pharaoh yelled. This time, Aaron touched the Nile River with his staff. The whole river turned to blood. Yuck! The river was so gross and so stinky that all the fish died, and no one could drink the water, and that was their drinking water. But again, Pharaoh ignored God and wouldn't listen. So God had to strong-arm Pharaoh with some more whammies. There would be 10 incredibly credible whammies. God sent frogs, ribbit, ribbit. Then gnats, then flies, bzz, bzz. Then all their animals died, Plop, plop. Then all the Egyptian people got owies all over their skin. Oh. Then balls of ice started falling from the sky. Oh, ouch, ouch. Then grasshoppers. Boing, boing. Then darkness covered the whole land of Egypt. I can't see. I can't see. Even after all that, Pharaoh still wouldn't listen. Nope, no way, never, was all Pharaoh would say. Talk about stubborn. God had one whammy left, the worst of all. God told Moses, this time, because Pharaoh is so stubborn, I will go through all of Egypt and make the firstborn son of every family in Egypt die. Every single one. But don't worry, I will keep you and my people safe, if you do what I say. The Egyptians will be wailing in tears, but my people's homes will be so quiet and so peaceful that a dog won't even bark. Next, God told Moses something very important. I want each family to kill a lamb, a perfect lamb, and paint its blood on the doorframe of your house. That way, when I come through, I will see the blood and pass over you and not allow the death angel to hurt any of your sons. God had decided that the death of a lamb would take the place of the firstborn son in each household. From now on, God said, you will celebrate this night. It will be called Passover, because I passed over you even though so many other people were dying. You will sacrifice a perfect lamb. When you do this, tell your son, this is done because of what the Lord did for me when I came up from Egypt. Also, from now on, all the firstborn boys and animals will belong to me. You will need to buy back from me all your firstborn sons. That will help you remember what it cost to save you from slavery and death. Night fell over Egypt, and God came. He passed over the houses with the blood over the door, and those people were safe, but not the Egyptians' houses. It was a sad night for the Egyptians. Many boys died. Pharaoh's son died too, and that finally upset the Pharaoh so much that he told Moses to take God's people and go, to leave Egypt forever. It had been hundreds of years since Jacob and his 12 sons had come to Egypt. Now there were millions in the family, plus a bunch of other people who saw that God was with them and wanted to come too. God was doing just what he said he'd do. He was rescuing his children from Egypt and taking them out of slavery. And they weren't just barely escaping. On the way out, God told them to ask the Egyptians for their gold, silver, nice clothes, and anything they needed. And God made the Egyptians want to help. So the Egyptians gave treasures to God's people as they left. Out of Egypt they went.